Bang, bang, bang. 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 Bang, bang, bang.
Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we're taking a look at Dreamcatcher's dance practice number 4. I think this is the last one that they do. I guess until the near future. I'm not quite sure, but it's been one wild ride so far. I finally got my taste of Dreamcatcher doing their own work, so it was just really fun to see. And I've already seen their other 3 dance practices, hence why I'm watching number 4. And so far they've been able to demonstrate a sense of just differences between the styles that they're choosing to explore, whether it's a cover or it's just a essence or style choice. I do like the choices that they've made. I did make a note with one of them just about, just age is important, or just the developmental side of life. Just be mindful of certain choices that are made in front of a camera. But that's stuff that we've already had many discussions on, which has been great. And it doesn't discredit their talent at all whenever we have those conversations. It's mostly whenever you do something really well, we just want to be protective, So I am definitely looking forward to this. I don't know if this is a cover. I'll find out. I'll read the description before I take an actual watch, but I am looking forward to this. So let's go ahead and take a watch. So I just read what this was. It's Bang Bang Bang! Oh, my Gentoo heart is swimming right now. Hey! Does this mean I'm gonna have to take a look at BIGBANG's dance practice? I guess I do. Bonboni. They must really take a liking to YG artists, because their last cover they did was like Idol cover was to Icon, right? And I think Paris choreographed both. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I think she choreographed Rhythm Top, maybe. She choreographed this because she was in the music video too. Bang, bang, bang. This track goes it's such a vibe with the cars in the back. Yeah. So they skipped the second verse and second chorus and went straight to the ending. Ready or not, we don't give a what. Here we go. Pop off. 5, 6, 7. Bass drop. Go. I just dropped my thing. This is honestly a great group drill to do. This song. Honestly, BIGBANG's choreo is perfect to do drilling of any type of movie you want to learn, because it's repetitive and it's just a vibe to me. I love it. But that's more of my fan heart of Gentoo than like my actual analytic heart. Now y'all know what I'm gonna have to do. We're gonna have to watch the dance practice of Bang 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 so I can actually get notes and we can talk about it. Let's go. You see how old this footage looks? Oh. Oh, bless G-Dragon on doing some choreo. Oh, Bonnie! Oh, looks like they were doing strobing there. I'm taking notes while I'm watching. Bang, bang, bang. Baya, baya, baya. Notice how Daesung and Taeyang do it slightly different. Now here's the thing, we ain't gonna be questioning for a second who is who here. Taeyang and Daesung, they're doing it very differently. Now we're gonna skip this part. Here we go. We go. Okay, Taeyang with a little bit of the wave. We know that's what he used to do. It's the shorts for me for that part. It's the shorts for me. So marked on some of this choreo. Bang, bang, bang. Let the bass drop. Go. Doesn't Top always look like a mad scientist or somebody who's just come off of a science experiment? He always came across that way, but in the best way possible. Such a mood. They always look like they're it really is a big thing, is they look like they're marking it. So I find it interesting that Dreamcatcher picks Rhythm Tot and this track out of everything, because it's just, it has such a lackadaisical, we're just doing a dance practice, we're not actually going hard. Because remember, this was also during the time where the dance practices didn't actually matter as much as the music videos did. Do you know what I mean? Now they matter almost just as much. For me, I don't even do an analysis of a routine. I don't even watch the music video until the dance practice is out. Do you know what I'm saying? So at least on my end as a content analyst, it's an expectation at this point, but back then that was just like a courtesy, you know? So I'm definitely excited to talk about this. Let's go back to Dreamcatcher. Okay, initial thoughts. They did a pretty good job. They were cleaner than Big Bang was in the backups. That is for sure. But I mean, mostly it's definitely like what I said. You just noticed huge differences between how each of the members did it, and even the backup dancers were very different in their execution as well. So they probably just took who had the most ideal format of doing it the way that was going to match how they implicitly understand information and movement and work from there. I do that a lot. Whenever I'm covering a group, I'm going to glean the best parts that I feel I can make the most successful, and also depending on where you as a viewer is going to look at the video when I do a side-by-side. So there's a lot that goes into my head on that, but of course I don't know how far in depth they go on the covers. I don't know their process. I know my process when I do covers, and it's pretty tedious because it's not my choreo, and there's going to be a certain level of expectation or certain things that I need to make sure I hit within the choreo, especially if I do an analysis on it. I'm held to the level of, if I say that would look better a certain way, then I need to do it that way, or I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but also remember too, I don't quite 1,000% remember every single thing that I say in an analysis. So if I get choreo wrong, or I don't do it the way that I said could have been done best, give me grace. Okay. So, but going from the top here, da, da. They definitely took a more, it's definitely more of that, it's a femme approach, but it could be because of what they're wearing, it could be because of how they're holding their posture. I like it. It's clean. And that part looks great as they're doing it. Da, da, da. I will say, we have one of them, she's not quite using her back, and you can tell that because there's this little extra oomph that's coming from the back that you can notice from some of them. You know, you can really tell from them. So that was just, if you actually look, you could tell they're using that back to create the energy. They're not just using the arms. The arms are going to be a higher range risk whenever you do this without using the energy from your back. Setting it down. This part really is actually doing a pretty good job. They are way cleaner together than Big Bang will ever be. That's not docking them at all. They were not meant as a unison choreo group at all. They weren't made for that. They were made to create trends and kill people with their overall aesthetic personally. I think they definitely did their job within the lane that they made for the industry. And kill people, I didn't mean like actually kill people. That would be bad. But I'm saying that they were meant to steal the hearts of individuals of the era, and they did it in the best way. So, bless it. There's a chance we will never see Big Bang again in the light of day, thanks to Sungri and his horrible decisions as an individual. Did G-Dragon call it? Yes, he did. If you don't know anything about that, it'd be better if you didn't know. But that was another reason why my K-pop heart left the K-pop scene, was because so much stuff went down with a lot of my favorite groups and people that are part of favorite groups. There's a lot of groups in the Generation 2 realm that will probably never be able to represent their name the same again. And I think that hurts my heart a little bit. But now this is actually a really great way for me to dive back into K-pop in a healthier way for me as an analyst, but also have the empathy of understanding the intention of those who are fans of these groups. So that's why I'm able to come at the lens that I am, because I've been there as a fan myself. So, but enough about me. Let's talk about Dreamcatcher. How they hit this. They did a very, very good job keeping the energy, but notice there's like no build and no usage of the chest at all. They're keeping it very linear, and they're using the elbow to go over versus actually allowing the back to do it. So that would be my note there in general. Yeah, you kind of see what I'm talking about. They're keeping it very up versus actually engaging and letting the energy project forward. And yeah, it did feel like she was marking it ever so slightly in the back, but let's take a second look here. Yeah, it really did. Her rotations were not quite as clear. Ooh, excuse me. Yeah, it felt like everybody else around her was giving more energy, and she wasn't quite in the chest as much. This part, once again, they're not using their torso, so that's why it just looks stifled. This movement on them it doesn't have any breath or any energy behind it, because they're not using any part of their body that gives it energy. They're using their arms, but their arms can only give so much within that energy. So that would be my overall note for them as a whole that I'm hopeful to see. I'm hoping to see just more back usage in general, because it's affecting how this is coming across. Because I also remember I wrote down, ooh, you know what? I didn't even talk about this. Not this part. It wasn't that part. It was before then. That part, they actually use the hips and the shoulders, so they're not using their hips at all for this section. That's what Big Bang does. They use their hips and their shoulders. They're accenting with the shoulders. They're not using the pelvis at all for that part, and they should have, because that is in the actual choreography that all of them did do. So that's why I clocked it. Yeah, so same note applies with all of this choreo. Very clean. Energy, I mean, it looks fine. Their spacing was great, as always. I just think there's no energy behind a lot of their movements and their arms. And it's not going to get fixed if they don't fix it. It's also interesting, notice this choreo is different than what we saw the first time. I think it was with Sungri. Hold on, whose voice is this? That's Sungri's voice. So, I mean, technically in Sungri's group, they did strobing. It could be from the second verse. It may be that, and I just skipped over it, of course, because I thought this was first verse, going into chorus, going into bridge. But, you know, to each their own. I think Reindeer, they're clean. It's nice. Yep, we're keeping very, very linear within the body. We're not allowing any risk in the kinesphere. So we're not actually pushing any of our energy outward. So that would be my overall note for this. Bang, bang, bang. This right here is nice. Now, honestly, they did this right. I was expecting this to not be technically correct, but it is. Because even how they did it, they accented out. I was expecting it to accent in. But they don't. They actually accent it out. So kudos to them for doing this right, for sure. Hey, I do feel, though, that they are kind of thrusting the arm versus letting the chest be the one that stops the arm. So that's my overall goal here. Are they committing? Like, does it feel like they're committing to the character, the performance? Personally, no. They're not giving any of this, vea, vea, vea. You know, it's very comical. To a certain degree, G-Dragon's voice does have that high tenor aesthetic about it, you know. But they give off this bad A energy. They always have. And they're giving off serious, but they're not giving off that certain degree of performance that does help choreographies like this, which is why when Big Bang does it, it doesn't come across as stagnant, because their performance overcompensates for the simplicity of the content. Does that kind of make sense? So that's just my in general note. But because they're carrying it more simpler, it's fine. They're going more like Baya, not like Baya. They're like Baya. Which to each their own. If that's the vibe they want to go for, they're doing a good job of committing to it, you know. But my thing is if they wanted to actually exude big bangs, bang, 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 the performance is definitely needing to be shifted in that direction more, because it does feel like we are diving into the comfort zones of how to execute it. We're not taking as many risks in how it's supposed to be done, I think is my overall note. This right here, I was going to say they needed to refine it, but they're doing a better job staying together than, I mean, you saw Daesung and Taeyang not doing the same thing like at all. They had the same arms, but how they were getting to their spot was so different. So for me, to each their own, they picked who they picked, and it works. Yeah, Gochoma. Notice that here it was just very just placed versus Gochoma, you know, like very like, you know. And then they don't have to stick their tongue out or anything. That's not my point. My point is just like, you know, like what you want. It's very conversational to a certain degree. Here it just feels like movement, but it was also, this choreo wasn't made for them. It was made for Big Bang. I like the usage of the chest here. That was a really nice choice. Yeah, just the bayas. There's no power behind them. Could just be because of the back or just because of the choreography. There's that too. Yeah. Ready or not, we don't give a what. Ready? The pulsing on this is really nice. Notice they all hit. They all made the same choice, which is what makes that okay. Totally fine. Go! Do inside. I was also expecting this to look more full from Big Bang, and even they did it worse. Like they didn't. And here's the thing: I'm not talking Big Bang. We're talking about a 2014, 2015, maybe 2013. I don't even freaking know when that song came out. Anyway, that was the year. Like Big Bang owned that year. Do you know what I mean? It was the Made, MADE. God bless, that was such a freaking great album from them. Just all the tracks were bangers. But I'm saying, like, that was the year they owned. Whatever year all that mess came out, bang, 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 destroyed so many things. So many people in the best way possible, right? But all that to say, how they performed in the dance practice, it goes back to, I don't think their intention of the dance practice was it to showcase, this is us in our full dance form. No, it just looked like a run through. You know, not everybody giving 100%. Even the backups were not giving 100%. It was a dance. It was the epitome of a practice. It wasn't a dance performance. Basically, dance practices nowadays are another form. It's just the dance practice version. It's literally the equivalence of tier and quality as the music video. It's just something that people expect. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's weird if a group does not come out with a dance practice over somebody that does. So here in this case, it makes total sense why they made the choice they did, because even Big Bang, they weren't clear on how that's supposed to specifically be done. So I'd give the note to everybody. Whenever you do a Superman or when you do this type of move, you want to use your chest more, you want to use your torso more, so it feels more full. Right now, it just feels like movement. The whole thing kind of feels that way. And a lot of it has nothing to do with them. It has to do with the circumstances of their reference material, but also this track is not theirs. And so exuding somebody else's caricatures or personalities and performances is a lot harder to do than your own. And that's why most of the time when you see K-pop groups or idols cover other people's stuff, it does look different or it looks off sometimes. And that's not a bad thing. That's just say their body is calibrated to a different movement language. Honestly, I'm going to be honest. This is going to tie into, I know there's an idol that got super dogged on how they did the smoke challenge. I do remember that. I don't remember who it was. My point is this. Them doing the smoke challenge the way that they did doesn't mean that they're a bad dancer at all. It's their language and movement, like I said, it's just not in that field. You pick up what I'm putting down, because for me, I used to not be able to do Bada stuff. I still had to heavily calibrate myself to Bada's choreo. I did, because it's different. I've never taken from Bada before until I learned her smoke choreo. So her slang movement, so how she interprets certain grooves or certain fundamentals are different than what my wheelhouse is, because I come from America and she comes from Korea. So she's in a different type of saturation within some of these pockets than I am, you know. And certain choreographers like Just Jerk's choreo, I'm going to cater to a little bit better because I took I took their class 101. I took 10 choreographies all from Just Jerk. So I've taken from J-Ho to Young J to everybody, you know. So I'm going to be more familiar with Just Jerk choreo than I am going to be from Bada's, even though Bada came from the Just Jerk wheelhouse per se. So all that to say, I don't like it when a lot of people choose to trash or dog an idol for just doing their best or doing what they think works for them. But honestly too, a lot of people put, there's a microscope on these idols a lot, and some of them have an obligation from the company to, you know, promote and do social media. But then sometimes I think it's okay for us to not have to do that or just do it for fun. But it's a very harsh world out there. I know for me too, I can have a perfectionist mentality because I do dance analysis of these choreographies. That means I have to be really, really good at it, or people are going to trash me or say what a hypocrite. Like I kind of am expecting that if I don't hold my own in the choreo that I just critiqued. That's kind of how the world we live in is. Is it fair? It never was and never will be, you know? So I feel that it's something that you just have to choose what you choose to let define you, honestly, at the end of the day. So all that to say, I feel that most people who are idols, they're not bad at dancing. Like, I never look at somebody, even if somebody else would say that they're like the worst dancer they've ever seen, they're not bad at dancing, they're just unrefined. They haven't found the style or their identity or the fundamentals that work best for them. They just haven't trained in a style long enough. And for me, the best thing that I can say is you can only get better from here. You can't be any worse than you already are. So if you're a beginner dancer and you're like, wow, I don't think I'm good enough to amount to anything, you can't be any worse than you are. You can only get better. You know, and age is truly just a number. It's about the quality and how you choose to spend your time, not the amount of time itself. That's a really big thing. For me, I grew as a professional dancer and as a choreographer, honestly, post 2020, more post 2020 than I did my entire time previously, truly. So I want you to know that it's really about the quality and how you choose to spend it, and getting with the right people in the right community to help build that with is really a big thing too. So anyway, that's just my little spiel I wanted to give. So here, they're not bad at it at all. I think that they did a pretty good job with the choreo. I just think that we're really missing a lot of key elements that Big Bang has that helps compensate for them not being clean with their own choreo, if that makes sense. But the energy is really nice. There is one note I do want to make. This is something that I personally do, which is why it stuck out to me. We're actually going to go back. I want you to take a look at her feet. Notice that they actually turn to the inside. Notice that. So she turns to the inside. That's something that I would tell her to be mindful of. And I have to tell myself that when I actually look back at my own videos. When I run, be mindful not to turn or do like a pigeon toed action, because you can end up... The reason why I do that is because my right side, I've rolled my ankle many, many times. I wear a sleeve. Every time I dance, I can't dance without wearing a compression sleeve. Now at this point, it is chronic at this point. When your podiatrist tells you you're a career patient at 24, that's not something you want to hear, especially whenever you don't want to have to pay for the deposit or the deductible in America to pay for whatever treatments you get from a podiatrist, which is an ankle doctor, by the way, if you didn't know that. It's doctors who specialize in ankles and feet. I had to go to a podiatrist in my early 20s. Bless it, you know? So all that to say, I do that because I have a reoccurring injury that I had to be mindful of. And so that would just be my overall note for her. I don't know if she's had an injury on her foot before or she's naturally caters her weight towards the inside. Just be mindful to try to keep it parallel when she does it. It's just going to be safer. The energy there, that part's fine. They're kind of sitting in more of like a femme hip pocket, which is fine for this. It's clean. They're all making the same choice. Notice that some of them are not really picking up their feet, but others are. I would say our dancer that I just talked about, her feet, she's picking up her knees a little bit more, which I appreciate. I would say I don't think she is as much, but let's double back and make sure. I don't think she is. She's not. So she's lifting it up to the calf and not all the way to the knee. So that would be something that we could work on just collectively, is investment on when we're picking up the feet. I made this note about, it was Psychers. They have a lead dancer. His name is Hunter, I think. Hunter is very, very flexible in his hip flexors. I can tell that because of his range of his lower half of his body and how full he can go in his lower body. And I also just did Tricky House at the time of recording this. I did Tricky House by Psychers. God bless it. I am so sore from it because the demand of the hip flexors to do some of the fixed points in the arches is really demanding, and it's at the tail end of the choreo of the course. So it's you got to really be on top of it, and you can pull something and you can roll something if you do not warm yourself up to do their choreo, which just shows the sheer amount of, oh my God, it's about it, you know? Very impressive that the fact that they do it. But my point is this, he stuck out because he can go so full in his range. So I even said, for the integrity of making it a group thing, for him to match the energy of his counterparts, because they may not have the flexibility that he does to hit some of the ranges the way that Hunter has. But I would say a good goal would be for everybody to do it the way Hunter does. But some of it, I think, just comes from his natural flexibility. It just takes time to get to that place, you know? So that was just my little tidbit, my side note, that there is a way, regardless if you have a lot of flexibility or you're super stiff, we have to learn to meet in the middle for the sake of the group. Like, the integrity of how the group does it sometimes matters more than if one person sticks out because they're doing it so well. That can actually end up hurting a group, especially from a studio context. You don't want people to stick out when they're not supposed to, I think is my note. The energy of this is really nice. I mean, how they built it up is super fine. I would say some of us are going a little bit too early there, and this just comes from when you're not picking up your feet as high as everybody else. Just depends on the move. It can give the appearance that we're not really quite, we get to our spot a little bit faster. Like, we finish our move faster, I think is my point. Switching this right here. Notice it's all in place. They're not traveling at all, and they're not using their torso at all. They're using their hips. So that would be my note for that too. It just feels like it's a hair flip with their hips. That's technically not the move. It's supposed to be a nay-nay variation. And I don't know, I mean, some of Big Bang did it right, but that's just my note there. But they're doing a good job staying clean with it though. 3, 4, this is just straight Zumba. Bang, bang, bang. And notice that there's just more of a placement into the punches, not like a bang, 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 2, 3, you know. So that's just an in general note about that. Swing the hair. I love the fact that let's invest in the hair. Everybody doing their own thing. Let the bass drop, go. And we finish. Drop that thing down. Love it. Great job from them. I think this is an improvement from what I saw from Rhythm Ta. For sure, we already seeing a little bit of improvement. Some of their hips and their chest is unlocked more here than what we saw earlier, but I do think we do have quite a ways to go in loosening up what's going on in the torso and in the grooves, but a lot of that is just going to be from their training and their choreography that they normally get in their regular discography. It makes sense why certain styles are not going to look or feel good to them in comparison to others. That's life. Sometimes people pick a specialty of a style for a reason. For me, as an analyst or as an educator or an individual who I have the responsibility in the studios where most of my dancers, most of their exposure to styles are going to come from me. So if there's a dancer that really tailors to Afro or to dance hall or to whacking, those are completely different pockets of information or postures in which you carry yourselves. I have to take on the responsibility to understand those as well as I can, so I can convert my own pocket so I can be a better visual representation for my own students and understand the empathetic side of the struggle that comes with learning something new. That's just a me thing, and that's something that I honestly feel that more teachers should strive to do too, because at the end of the day, being a teacher is not making it about you. And there are a lot of teachers out there, and I'm not speaking about this at all, I'm speaking in general. There are a lot of teachers that make it about them, and that's why their students end up suffering, or they have to compromise or have to figure out other ways to get the information they want. I've had teachers like that, which is why I can attest to it, and that's why I strive not to be that way, because I know how it feels to be on the receiving end of a teacher who cares more about themselves than me. just calling it what it is. Here in this case, I'd say I'm gonna give them way more slack. Remember, it's the beginning. It's like their debut time. It's still very new. You know, even those who already did a whole stint with minks, the hardest thing is going with a concept that doesn't work and then having to completely recalibrate and re-debut. Like, you want to talk about overcoming failure? That's a really big example of it, and I'm so happy that they're successful now because I think that they've worked really, really hard, and you can see that already. Just from even their pre-debut stuff, you could tell they work really hard, and it's really nice that they're getting rewarded for that hard work. It's great. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am thoroughly enjoying my time with Dreamcatcher, and it's always nice to see a little tidbit of a Gen 2 gem intermingled with these marathons. It's such a joy for me. If you want to see me be a part of a K-pop marathon while I actively react to it, you could definitely go and check it out on Patreon. By the time this comes out on YouTube, very good chance that I am completely finished with every single Dreamcatcher routine or dance practice, including minks and including these dance practices like what you see here. And if you want to get on the action and the discussions, and let's say YouTube may not feel the safest place for you, Patreon is a really great environment where you can totally create an entire wall of text. It will be seen, understood, and reciprocated. And I'm so far very much enjoying just the communal aspect, especially on Patreon, where you have people that are very open-minded. They want to learn, they want to help others and grow themselves, and I end up learning and getting so much from that too. YouTube is great, but I'm able to see things more itemized on Patreon just because there's not as many people. But on YouTube, it's still just as wonderful. So that's just something, if you're an individual who has a certain type of environmental factors that placate to you investing in conversation, that may be something that may pique your interest. But we always have something fun hanging out over on Jess Reacts on YouTube, but we also have so much exclusive stuff that happens over on Patreon that I would love for you to be a part of if that's something that interests you. So once again, I am Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye!